Hi, ma'am. I'm Gibby.
She doesn't speak English.
I'm still Gibby.
But what about the fact that Trump's taking away women's freedoms? He said he's not.
Honestly, I feel like the Democrat Party has been the most abusive party. They have literally ingrained so much hate and anger into their supporters and have also instilled so much fear. The courtship period of any relationship is really important, especially if you plan to spend the rest of your life with this person. So the elections helped some women understand who they were actually dating. Here we have one woman saying goodbye to him because my future husband would never vote for Donald Trump. Bye bye. Here we have another indoctrinated woman who believes that Donald Trump is going to take away all of her rights. She is quoting her boyfriend, I guess, saying, "I love you and you have my vote. You are far more important to me than my political party." And I bet you he showed up to the polls and he voted for Donald Trump, baby. Dating in America in 2024 is already so difficult that these women want to rule out the majority of American men, like 60% of men. They just want to completely rule them out. And it's already so difficult with technology, social considerations, and all of these gender differences. And I love that Google says here, some studies suggest that women may perceive dating as even more challenging due to concerns about harassment and safety. My favorite word from this statement is perceive, because that's literally what it is. It's a perception. It's almost like women have become the men of the households. Listen to this clip.
Would vote for Kamala? I would. I think she's a lot better than Biden. She has her shit together. And I told you that's who you were voting for as well.
This girl literally looks at her boyfriend or husband or whatever, and she's like, "I told you that you're voting for Kamala Harris as well." Like, she is giving her husband orders. That's wild. So here we have a girl who is explaining why she understands women leaving their husbands or leaving their boyfriends if they voted for Trump. And she says that it's fine to have your own opinion for small things like pizza toppings. If you don't want pineapple on pizza, I added that part in. Or if you don't want sprinkles on your ice cream cone or whatever. But then she says when it comes to things like our rights or stuff like that, that is where it's not an opinion.
Completely valid. Like, you can't be racist or sexist or homophobic and just be like, "Oh, well, it's just my opinion." Like, no, it's not an opinion. It's just, you're just being a bigot. I just don't understand.
I mean, for you to compare an entire political party, that's what it is. It's the Republican Party. And you want to say that it has nothing to do with politics. It quite literally does. And for you to compare the entire party and majority of Americans to all of those like horrendous words that you just said is really far-fetched. And it just shows that maybe the hateful people aren't who you think it is. It almost seems like on this side of the internet, everybody has to like come out as something. Like, "Oh, my boyfriend came out to me as a Trump supporter. What should I do? I just realized that he's a manly man. I don't know if I can handle that. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can wear the dress. I don't even know how to bake. Where would I begin?"
Supports Trump and I don't know what to do. Please help. Long story short, my boyfriend told me lots before that he didn't follow the election. He didn't like care about politics or whatever. But and we just got into this whole discussion this morning because he supports Trump. And I said, "But what about the fact that Trump's taking away women's freedoms?" He said he's not. He's making it, he's giving them the choice. And I said, "No, he's not. Like, he's actively not doing that." And then he just said, "Yeah, he is, by giving it to the state. The women voted for that." Like, I don't think that that's true. I don't know. I'm very confused. Then he said, "Well, then if a woman wants an abortion, she can just go to another state." And I said, "But, you know, not every..."
Look at the map. Literally, majority of our country allows it up to 18 weeks. And multiple states, at least 7 states, allow it into the 9th month. There's only a few states like Texas and some southern parts of the states that don't allow abortion. So this is like so ridiculous. Also, living in America. I mean, at this point, you can travel to a different state. You can go to a more liberal state and hopefully you'll find more liberal men and be able to have all of your abortion laws, whatever. But it's going to be difficult to find, I don't know, maybe it won't be that difficult to find a really liberal man that actually believes in all of this stuff and believes that your rights are taken away. And you think that it is his way of showing you love by voting for a communist. So here we have, and also in that clip, she was like, and then my boyfriend or whatever told me that he's not taking away our rights. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. So she doesn't even know if that's true. But yet she is so confused and so conflicted on whether or not she should leave him because of it. What?
Like, I don't think that that's true.
Here we have somebody posting, your boyfriend voted for Trump because he didn't know. And then like she plays a song. But you have you guys ever like watched TikTok or watched an Instagram reel and they say, watch till the end to find out. And then at the end, they never show you. And so he didn't know. And that's just the end of the TikTok. He didn't know what. I'm assuming that what she is saying is that he just didn't know what it meant to me. He didn't know that he was taking away my rights. He didn't know that it was making me feel sad. Honestly, I feel like the Democrat Party has been the most abusive party. They have literally ingrained so much hate and anger into their supporters and have also instilled so much fear. And I think that that is actually really sad. Here we have somebody saying, if your boyfriend is voting for Trump, he's voting against you and your rights.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Gibby.
She doesn't speak English.
I'm still Gibby.
If he voted for Trump, he is voting against your rights. So basically, these women don't want people to have a right to vote. Like the last girl that we saw who was talking about pizza toppings or whatever, she's saying that you shouldn't be able to have a choice when it comes to this, something as extreme as this. Of course, when we are having an election against Hitler, because that's what they were all saying, they were trying to be as extreme as possible. It's like when you have a fight with an immature person and all that they can do is just say some type of extreme insult and just try to bring out the most exaggerated thing that they hope is going to trigger you, because that's the only defense that they have. That is what these people are doing. And yet they want to call Donald Trump a threat to democracy. But yet you see these people saying nobody should ever vote for Donald Trump. If he does, then he is taking away our rights. They're a horrible person. They shouldn't exist. That's basically what that is. So I don't understand why they're so strong and talk so much about their rights when they're the ones who are trying to take away people's right to vote. They're saying you cannot vote for Donald Trump, no matter what. And so this whole thing about women's rights, they try to make it the whole topic of the election. Kamala Harris literally tried to win the election based on women's rights. So women's rights include the right to be free from discrimination and violence, to be educated, to own property, to vote, and to earn equal wages. Do you know that there's more women enrolled in colleges than men? And in a lot of cities, women are out earning men. So what rights, again? And how is Donald Trump taking those away from you? So then they want to talk and make reproductive rights the big thing, because they don't really have much grounds on any of the other rights, especially when it comes to earning an equal wage. You provide value and you get compensated for that. So they made their whole topic reproductive rights, which is the right to make choices about the number and spacing of children and to be free from female genital mutilation, forced abortion, and forced sterilization. And so forced abortion, that's interesting because it's not like doctors nowadays are forcing those kinds of things, but they push it so heavily and on young girls as well. Like if you go into a consultation, they're like, oh, you're having cramps? Well, you should get on birth control. It's going to take away all your pain and it's going to make your life so much better. Oh, you have acne? Oh, well, you should get on birth control. And so it's almost like it's the opposite of what people are actually thinking. And then doctors will scare women who are pregnant and make them so concerned. And they say, oh, you're too young, or, oh, you could have certain complications. You don't have to go through this. And so it's not forcing them to do it, but they're just so encouraging of it, and they really push it heavily. So I think that women's rights, it's the opposite. We need to have the right to be able to have children. And so here we have what are women's rights in the United States? Since these women are literally leaving their husbands because they voted for Donald Trump, but yet these women, they have and will continue to have under Donald Trump, he has already been president, the right to vote, work, education, freedom from violence, reproductive rights, bodily integrity, legal contracts, and family law. All of those things, none of it is being taken away from them. It's so interesting because I Google, how is abortion healthcare? And then it says that it's a safety issue. And that's one of the main things. People like to argue, oh, if abortion becomes illegal, then all of these women are going to be doing it under the table and they're going to be hurting themselves, which is like, okay, well, maybe don't do that. And it's so funny because after Donald Trump got elected, all of these women are joining the 4B movement, and they're realizing that they have all of their rights, that the Democrat Party was making them think that abortion was their right. But actually, the truth is that they just could be abstinent, and then they would never have to deal with any of this. I mean, I just find it absurd that the main argument for how abortion is healthcare is just because it's like, oh, because a professional should be murdering people instead of just doing it at home. That's really creepy. So then it says that the World Health Organization recognizes it as healthcare. And when you look up why, it's because of consequences of inaccessible quality abortion care. Literally, that is what most of this entire article is about. Expanding quality abortion care. Seriously, that's their entire reason. Oh, because look at all the health risks associated with unsafe abortions. Yeah, no, duh. Maybe don't do that. That's literally like self-harm and harming another human. Their only argument for abortion being healthcare is that if it's not legal, then people are going to do it in an unsafe manner. And they can go on and on about stats of how abortions done by hospitals have very low risks and people are in danger by doing it at home or in an alley. I think they call them back alley abortions. Regardless, that doesn't make it healthcare, and it doesn't make it any better. It is basically like the whole assisted suicide thing and helping people go through with that thing and saying that it would be better if it was done by a professional. That's disgusting. Here we have a girl who is saying, kicking him out because he voted for Trump because this woman believes that abortion is healthcare. Probably. This girl shares a little story.
$19 Fortnite card. Who wants it?
Oh no, man, that was really loud. I'm so sorry. I got a boyfriend. He voted for Trump. Oh.
No more Fortnite?
Oh, no more boyfriend. I really wonder, and it sounds sad, but will they ever find love, considering that most men voted for Donald Trump? Me, when I thought he was the one, but then I found out he supports Trump. All of this could be avoided, and women wouldn't have to go off about women's rights if all of the women who wanted to have unsafe abortions didn't do that, and maybe they were more cautious prior to getting pregnant. So literally, I just find it so wild. The fact that their argument for why it's healthcare is because the alternative is really dangerous. No duh. No duh. Here we have somebody saying, if your boyfriend is voting for Trump, then you don't have a boyfriend. You have a glorified friend who is against women's rights. Honestly, it's the same thing with the border. When you allow so many people in, that's when it becomes really dangerous. And so many families have been separated. So many kids have been missing at the border because you're allowing for it to happen. And yet, when Donald Trump is more strict on the border, people want to be like, oh, you're going to separate families. No, Now families are not going to be separated. And it's really similar to this. People are like, oh, you're taking away women's rights. No, women wouldn't put themselves in harm's way as much if it wasn't so accepted. It's pretty similar, isn't it? Here we have somebody saying, just broke up with my favorite munch. He voted for Trump. Oh, man. I mean, and it's just sad. A lot of women, after they divorce their husband, go into poverty. So why are people encouraging this? Here we have this guy who tells a story about coming out as a MAGA to a Kamala Harris supporter.
Big girl, right? Everything was looking well. I was like, man, I finally found the one, right? Then we were talking, and she said, so what do you do? I said, I told her what I did for work or whatever. I'm not going to tell y'all. And then we talked, and he said, what else did you do? I said, I posted a little bit online. She said, oh, let me see. I showed her my TikTok account. Instantly cut me off.
That is so upsetting. It's so funny because that's pretty relatable too. And I feel like if you have a social media where you, I don't know, you follow all of the makeup trends and you just are really how like the mainstream society wants you to be, people would be okay with it because they understand it. But when you niche down a little bit to conservatism, then people can consider that a little bit cringy, or you're supposed to be embarrassed by it. And I can relate to that. So I found this article very interesting because all of these women leaving their boyfriends and husbands because they voted for Trump. And so when you look up, in what way is Trump going to affect women's rights? And I mean, these are the articles that liberal women read and they get scared and they believe it. So, I mean, we're clearly going into looking at the complete other side right now. And so it says that it's going to impact women in the workplace, and that it's going to impact gender and race pay gaps, which is, I think they must be talking about the whole DEI thing. And so God forbid that people get compensated accordingly to the value that they provide. And then this paragraph was so ridiculous. Look at this. We can expect issues on healthcare beyond abortion and contraceptive. For example, Black women are much more likely to die from preventable causes like cervical cancer. The HPV vaccine is essential to preventing cervical cancer, but racism, poverty, and inequality. Okay, so like they just want to drive up emotions here, create barriers to information and access to this vaccine, as well as treatments for this condition. Trump's nominee to lead the Department of Health and Human Services has a record of spreading misinformation about vaccines. So somehow, some way, they're trying to make a correlation, probably between RFK and his concerns for vaccines, which are real, and then comparing them to something so specific, just to trigger people, just to make people angry, and just to make it seem like it actually is racism, poverty, and inequality at work, when it's not. This is just wordplay. At the end of the day, I hope that these women find love. Please make sure that you are subscribed to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.